If you came here hoping for a lecture on morality or a warm reminder that if you work hard enough you will be rewarded, you're in the wrong room. This is not comfort food. This is a clean, brutal look at the engine under the hood, the engine most people refuse to name because naming it would force them to change. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The system you're living inside is not designed to make you happy. It is designed to produce growth, efficiency, and expansion. Your feelings are not part of the budget. Your struggle is not a problem to solve. It is a feature that keeps the machine supplied. So today we're not going to debate whether capitalism is good or bad like it's a personality trait. We're going to dissect how it moves value, how it turns time into a resource, how it punishes people for being human, and how it tricks you into volunteering for your own limitation. By the end, you will stop asking the wrong question. You will start asking a question that actually gives you leverage. And if that sounds harsh, good. Harshness is often the first sign that you are finally looking at something real. Let's start with the picture you already know but never fully process. Look around. Tall buildings, financial districts, people in uniforms of success, suits, calm faces, expensive coffee, and screens that update numbers faster than anyone's heartbeat. The world looks like it is full of winners, but beneath the surface there is a deeper pattern, an endless hunger for expansion. People love to mythologize this hunger. They say the rich are rich because they're more talented, more greedy, more blessed. Sometimes talent is real, sometimes greed is real. But greed is not the engine. Greed is just human fuel, and fuel exists everywhere. The real engine is the rule set. Capitalism is not a moral story about who deserves what. It is a structure that rewards the behavior that grows capital, regardless of whether you feel seen, safe, or respected. That's the first mind trap you need to break, confusing motive with mechanism. You think the system is run by villains. No, the system is run by incentives. Villains are optional. Incentives do the job with perfect consistency. Adam Smith, the father figure economist borrow like a brand, didn't write a fairy tale about kind-hearted bosses. He described how economic life actually operates. Businesses pursue their own interest. That is not a moral confession, it is an observation. But there's a deeper point that most people miss because admitting it would shatter the comforting myth that the system is secretly good for you. The system prioritizes efficiency over ethics. Efficiency doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care what you believe. It doesn't care whether your grandmother worked hard or whether you have trauma. It asks one question again and again: does this arrangement produce more output with less input? If a machine produces more with fewer disruptions, the system moves toward the machine. If an algorithm can replace a role, the system moves toward the algorithm. If a country can pay lower wages for similar labor, the system moves toward that geography. The machine keeps moving because the incentives keep pushing. Now let's make it personal, because the most dangerous deception is when capitalism stays abstract. It stays economic so you can treat it like weather. But it's not weather, it's pressure. And pressure changes people. Imagine you are a skilled worker. You are good at your craft. You have pride. You have discipline. You show up. You probably also carry a quiet fear that if you stop, your life will collapse. Then a factory upgrades. The work doesn't disappear because the company suddenly became heartless. It disappears because the company became rational under its incentives. Humans have limits. 24 hours a day, a body that gets tired, a mind that gets overloaded, a life that can't be duplicated. Your output is constrained by your biology. Capital is not constrained in the same way. Capital can be structured into systems, machines, software, intellectual property, ownership stakes, supply chains, automation, and networks. A single well-designed system can run while you sleep. A worker cannot be in two places at once, but a spreadsheet model or a production pipeline can replicate decisions thousands of times. This is where the psychological split begins. People think they're selling labor for wages, but in reality, many workers are feeding the part of the system that grows faster than their lives can grow. In that split, the gap widens. The machine accumulates. The human survives. And once you understand this, you see why the distance between the owner and the operator starts to feel like a canyon. The operator thinks they're participating. The owner is participating too, but the owner is also receiving growth without being physically present. One side is paid in time. The other side collects from the compounding engine. Let's talk about the board game people pretend isn't happening. Economists often break society into three big categories: labor, land, and capital. You can think of it like three lanes in the same race. Labor is time and health converted into money. Land is location and control of access. Capital is the ability to generate value repeatedly through assets that don't require your constant physical participation. Labor is the most fragile asset in the system. It wears out, it can be exhausted, it can become obsolete. When you sell labor, you sell your limited time permanently. 1 hour you give is 1 hour you will never regain. The math feels simple in your head because it's how wages are marketed. You trade 8 hours for 8 hours of money, you get sick and the trading stops. Cash flow disappears. Land is slightly less painful. If you control space or a valuable location, you don't have to run like a laborer. You collect fees. Someone moves through your property, someone lives inside it, and money returns to you. But land is still bounded by geography. You cannot own the whole world at once. You cannot stretch soil like a spreadsheet. Then capital comes in, and capital is where your whole life starts to feel smaller. Capital is not only money, capital is machinery, it is technology, it is a structure of organization that can scale, it is the packaging of intelligence into things that keep producing shares, algorithms, patents, business models, supply chain networks. The point is not just that it exists, the point is that it can keep working without your continuous presence. The crucial difference is the separation between income and time. Workers are trapped in the prison of exchanging time for money. Capital owners try to break that link. Their income is no longer strictly tied to their hours. Their system keeps producing while their body rests. A pipeline can generate revenue on the other side of the globe while someone takes a vacation on the Mediterranean. The owner's effort is often mostly supervisory and strategic, and even that can be delegated. Now you might say, that's just business, that's just economics. Fine, but psychology is the part you usually refuse to see. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have the mental space to plan. You do not have enough surplus to think long term. You cannot afford to sit with uncertainty. You can't risk investing in an idea that won't pay off for years. You cannot easily build an asset base. So the system doesn't even need to force you with violence. It forces you with urgency. It keeps you busy enough to forget the question that would change your life. Why am I trading my best years for someone else's compounding? This is why efficiency becomes a weapon, not a virtue. Because efficiency means the system tries to reduce the amount of human dependence required to generate wealth. That reduction hurts workers first, and it hurts them not only through unemployment but through constant bargaining pressure. If more people can do similar work for less, your leverage shrinks. Your job becomes a commodity. Your dignity becomes negotiable. Let's put a number on it so you can feel the asymmetry. If you have $1,000 and you earn a 10% return each year, you gain $100 in a year. It's meaningful to you because that $100 changes what you can do next week. Now imagine someone has $1 billion and earns the same 10%. Their annual gain is $100 million. That isn't a lifestyle upgrade. That is an entire new political reality. With that money, they can hire the best minds in the world. They can buy data sets. They can fund research. They can buy companies. They can wait longer. They can take losses without collapsing. They can buy options. This is compounding as a life strategy, not as a finance term. This is how the rich get more resilient. Their money reproduces through reinvestment, through ownership, through controlled systems that continuously generate more capital. Some people call it Matthew effect because the pattern is predictable. Those who have more tend to get more. Those who have less are squeezed, and sometimes the little they have gets taken through inflation, through fees, through bad debt cycles, through strategic pricing, through legal frameworks that are written to favor the existing holders of capital. Now we need to talk about inflation because people treat it like a random villain. They say prices rose, wages rose slower. It's unfortunate. But there is a psychological layer to this too. Inflation is often a transfer mechanism. It can move value from people who keep cash in safe, stagnant places to people who hold real assets and financial instruments. Cash is vulnerable. Assets can reprice, appreciate, or produce income streams. If you are paid wages, your purchasing power depends on the wage keeping up with prices. If it doesn't, you lose silently. You experience it as stress and reduced choices. You don't call it a tax, but it functions like a tax without the paperwork. It's one of the most cruelly effective mechanisms because it doesn't require anyone to hate you. It just requires time and math. So while workers feel the pinch at the grocery store, the wealthy feel their net worth climb because assets move differently. They are not protected by moral superiority. They are protected by structure. Now here's where your delusion usually lives. Many people think the system becomes kinder when it's modern. They think progress equals fairness. But progress often means better optimization, and optimization has consequences. In the name of growth, the system asks for absolute efficiency, and in a world built on efficiency, humans are treated like variables. If a machine can do better, replace the human. If a foreign workforce can do it cheaper, redirect the production. If automation can reduce payroll, do it. If consumers can be convinced to buy again and again, do it. You see what happens? Your bargaining power erodes not because someone individually targets you, but because the system is designed to make your role the easiest to substitute. When people lose leverage, they often start blaming individuals. They curse the rich, they curse CEOs, they curse immigrants, they curse lazy workers, they curse greedy companies. It feels satisfying because it gives you a target. But it keeps you from seeing the mechanism. The real mechanism is that the system grows by detaching income from your time and by detaching production from your labor. It doesn't hate you, it doesn't love you, it doesn't care, it's just running. Now let's connect that to your daily life, because this is where the truth becomes either life-changing or unbearable. Have you noticed how society encourages you to consume even when you can't afford to? Not just with obvious luxury, but with identity consumption. The newest phone, the right shoes, the monthly upgrades, the travel that you claim is for yourself, the subscriptions that slowly turn into a second job you never agreed to. This is not only about money, it's about identity and control. Consumption can keep you psychologically trapped. It makes you feel like you're building a life when you are actually consuming your capital base. It makes you think you need to prove something. It turns your sense of self into a purchase decision. And here's the cruel irony. The more you consume, the more you pay into the system's liquidity. You move money from wages into revenue streams. You create demand. Demand creates the illusion of progress, but demand is not the same as wealth creation for you. Demand helps goods move. It keeps markets active. It creates jobs indirectly. But for you personally, if it prevents you from building assets, it's just a loop. You do not fall into poverty like a sudden disaster. You slide into it through many small lifestyle choices that feel harmless in the moment. This is why the system doesn't need your happiness. It needs your participation. It needs you to keep the machine fed with routine spending, routine labor, and routine compliance. And the deepest psychological weapon is the illusion that your suffering will be rewarded if you just keep going. People work harder, earn more, and still feel stuck. They conclude they are failing as individuals, not that the game is structured. They think the system is a test of their character. It isn't. It's a market. Markets reward accumulation and punishes constraints. If you have no surplus, you cannot invest. If you cannot invest, you cannot build capital. If you cannot build capital, you remain trapped in labor income. Labor income ties your life to time. Time runs out, so you keep repeating the cycle. Now, the next mind truth, you cannot break the system directly because the system already lives inside you. This is where many people get angry. They want rebellion that feels clean and heroic. They want to destroy capitalism like it's an enemy army, but the system is not only outside, it is inside your habits. Every time you buy convenience, you fund the machine. Every time you use credit, you convert your future into present consumption. Every time you stream content, search online, or rely on platforms, you participate in data extraction and monetization structures. Every time you treat money as a scoreboard for identity, you reinforce the incentive system that turns everything into a transaction. You think you're resisting because you dislike how it works. But dislike without strategy is just emotional performance. The system doesn't even notice. It only notices where the money flows. So the real question becomes, how do you change your position on the board instead of trying to smash the board? That's where waking up becomes practical, not just philosophical. Let's get into 3 rules for the awakened. Not gentle rules. Rules that will force you to confront yourself. First rule, stop selling pure time. If your only income depends on your physical presence and your limited hours, you are in the most dangerous zone. Time is a wasting asset. It can't be renewed like a business can. You will eventually lose your health, your youth, your energy, or your market relevance. So you need to pack your value into something that can exist without your body. That means skills that produce output through systems, a productized service, a digital asset, a repeatable process, a course with real implementation, software, a business model with automation, or financial assets that generate income without your constant daily labor. You don't stop working overnight. That's not the goal. The goal is to make your hours less singular. The goal is to make each hour today produce something that continues producing in a decade. This is a psychological shift, not only a financial one. When you commit to building an asset base, you start measuring your day differently. You stop asking, did I get tired? You start asking, did I create leverage? Did I build something that survives my absence? Second rule, develop the mindset of accumulation. Many people think the only difference between them and wealthy people is discipline. They believe discipline means working harder, but discipline alone just keeps you trapped in wage labor longer. Accumulation is a different form of discipline. It is the ability to look at every expense and ask a ruthless question: is this killing my capital or is this planting seeds? Consumption is often capital destruction. Not always, but often. If you buy status to soothe anxiety, you're transferring money out of your future into someone else's present. Investment is when you buy tools, knowledge, rights, ownership, and systems that can grow. An investment requires the courage to tolerate a temporary feeling of lack. This is where most people fail. They cannot stand short-term deficit. They want to feel okay right now. They want comfort now and freedom later. But the system trains you to choose the opposite. It trains you to buy the feeling now and pay later with stress. Accumulation requires you to withstand that false emergency. You need to delay the dopamine. You need to accept that you might look less exciting for a while. You might not take every trip. You might not upgrade every year. You might say no to social pressure. And social pressure is real because identity is social. People don't just want money, they want belonging. So they spend money to buy membership in the group. That group membership is expensive. It often makes you poorer quietly. So the awakened person learns to tolerate fake deprivation. Not deprivation that harms their survival, but the emotional discomfort of not performing success while you build it privately. Third rule: understand the power game inside the system. Don't try to become a better worker inside the same wrong arrangement and call it progress. If you are chasing effort without tracking where the money and control move, you're just accelerating in the wrong direction. You need to study flows. Who gets paid first? Who owns the assets? Who controls pricing? Who benefits when a crisis happens? Where does the capital go when the system saves itself? Because the system's behavior becomes visible during crises. When large-scale support money is injected into the economy, it often flows through banking channels and asset markets first. Those who hold stocks, real estate, and financial instruments experience gains because their